Welcome to a Harsh Reality broadcast on the 5th of May 2015. This will actually be my final written economic notice. I've been writing economic notices for my friends over the last 9 years. The last one was 5 years ago, just before I started my Harsh Realist broadcasts. As I said, this is going to be my last one because I really truly believe that we are now going to be entering the Greatest Depression. This will be the last economic notice that I shall write. I am astounded that the politicians are painting such a rosy picture regarding the economy. It's all good news according to them. The reality could be nothing further from the truth. Simply put, the politicians have stored up horrific problems for the future. But hey, who is really bothered to obtain all the economic data that reflects the true dire state of affairs? What we are witnessing is the calm before the storm. Very few people seem concerned about the dreadful depression that has been stored up for the future. I cannot state with accuracy when the Greatest Depression will occur, but I am very confident that it will happen in the near future. To be honest, a depression should have happened by now. However, ingenious ways have been found to keep the unsustainable lifestyle going. But remember, the longer we keep the unsustainable lifestyle going, the worse the depression will be. We have certainly passed the tipping point to avert a massive depression. It's clear that we will be entering a phase to deal with the fallout. First of all, I would like to reflect on the human condition. I would also like to state at this point that I am no doom and gloom merchant. However, I am not afraid to talk about the reality of a situation that I believe to be truly horrendous. In general, we want to be optimistic about the future. We tend not to research economic data or watch alternative media to enable us to get a balanced picture. The mainstream media talk about job creation and growth, and to be blunt, many of us accept the news from the mainstream media. It's rather like blindly believing in religion because that's what you have grown up with from an early age, and therefore accepting it without question. If someone has a strong faith, logic has no chance whatsoever in shifting that faith. As I mentioned previously, a major depression should have happened by now. So, why has it not happened? Simply put, people are quite happy with debt. We feel rather comfortable with it. Indeed, it's now become a way of life. We are at ease from front-loading expenditure. Well, why not? Everybody else does it. Governments are also happy to delay reality. Take the US for instance. Does anyone remember when Congress used to set a debt ceiling, and when Congress came to review it, it was always raised? Okay, there was the usual huff and puff up to the 11th hour, but it was always raised. Has anyone noticed that there is no longer any talk about the debt ceiling? I suspect not. However, 18 months ago, it was decided that a debt ceiling should be temporarily abandoned and reviewed at a later date. Well, we are still waiting. Quantitative easing, zero interest rates, steal from the future, hide the bad mistakes. That is a quote from a song called Debt Bomb. That's right, quantitative easing, zero interest rates and borrowing from the future is a delaying tactic that will only make the depression far worse. But hey, all is calm at the moment, and after all, we are told by our politicians and the mainstream media that we are in recovery. Markets are at record high and businesses are very optimistic about our economic future. So what could possibly go wrong? Well, how about economic reality catching up? Yes, economic reality. Possibly something the politicians and the mainstream media fail to mention. The truth is, we have lived a fairy tale existence for far too long, and we should never have had the high standard of living we got used to. I am no doom and gloom merchant, I just want honesty. I certainly would fail as a politician because I would tell the truth and let people know that their standard of living would fall. I would try to explain the reasons why, but I guess by then I would have already lost their vote. So you see, there is no point in being honest when you are dealing with a fickle public who lack critical thinking. Let them waste their money at the pubs and worship poor celebrity role models. As I stated earlier, this will be my last economic notice. The last one I wrote was 5 years ago. My concerns have been borne out. However, the major depression has not yet happened. Instead, it has been described as the Great Recession. There is no doubt that there has been a squeeze for the average person, but this is still on a backdrop of government deficits month on month. The coalition government promised to cut the deficit down to zero by the end of their term in government. Well, it simply has not happened, and it will not happen in the near future. Why? Too much debt. A tipping point passed many years ago. There is no solution to the problem if you wish to try and maintain your current standard of living. Why? Let's look at the Tory approach. Cut spending. Outcome: reduced demand for goods and services. Deflationary depression. Let's look at the Labour approach. Cut spending less severely, but here is the rub. The debt continues to increase because expenditure exceeds tax receipts due to its commitments and unfunded liabilities. Not sure of the timing regarding the Great Depression, but I'm sure it will happen. When it does, someone else will be blamed. It's just the way the game is played. Possibly Greece will be blamed, but remember, Greece is only a very small player globally. However, in my opinion, it will represent the systemic problems faced in global economies. Countries seem hell-bent on devaluing their currencies. Even China is in on the act. I don't see a Mad Max scenario. However, I do see a more draconian government as people are willing to sacrifice their freedoms for security. Too many people suffer from normalcy bias. That is to say, the experiences they had in the past they expect to continue into the future, and therefore are not prepared to deal with difficulties ahead. Be prepared for tough times ahead. It will happen.